Hello everyone, this is Brian with Brian Wants to Help. Wanted to touch base on more of how I buy Tesla stock, so this will be how I buy Tesla stock too. So I just wanted to kind of give my example. Obviously I'm older and I started a little bit later. I recommend this for younger people, but anybody. I heard a story once of somebody saying, I'm too old to go to college, and whoever they were talking to said, well, how old are you? And I said 40. And he said, well, how old will you be in 4 years? And he said 44. He said, obviously, how old will you be if you don't go to college in 4 years? 44. If you do go to college, 44. So as long as you don't pass away, time's going to keep ticking. So whether you're young or old, I recommend you save money, invest money, whatever, real estate, stocks, savings, whatever you're comfortable with. But always saving money and have that money try to make money for you. So, for example, I shared this in the first video of how I buy Tesla stock. I started with $50 on a paycheck. I get paid 3 times a month, sometimes 4. And I raise it $1 each time. So the first time I deposited into Charles Schwab stock slices, where you can buy a fraction of a share, I did $50. Second time I did 51, and the third time I did 52. And I've kept doing that, and it's a recent event for me. And so this last month, the month of October 2023, I got paid 3 times, and I did $68 the first check, $69 the second check, and $70 the third check. And I think that equals $207. I didn't do the math, but I'm just doing a rudimentary in my head. So $207, and I think the shares were right around $215 or so, so almost got a full share of Tesla stock. Now this next month, I'm going to get paid 3 more times, and I'm going to do $71, $72, and $73. So I'll get up to, what is that, 216, or I'm not exactly sure, but anyways. And I'm not looking really of how many shares I can buy. I kind of have a goal of getting eventually 1,000 shares of Tesla stock, because as I keep increasing, and then if I come into chunks of money, I'll also put some chunks of money into Tesla. And but this is just an easy way and an example that people can put a small amount. So you could actually start with $5 on stock slices, and even if you didn't raise it $1, you could do $10 a month or $15 a month. Under my scenario, where I get paid 3 times, but if you went up $1 each time, eventually you start, adding up. The key is just to consistently invest. And I talked a little bit about why I wanted to buy Tesla. I still feel it's a growth company. I think they only hold 4% of the new sales in the U.S., and some countries more and some countries less around the world. But they have a lot more than just their auto company. And within their auto company, they also have some things that have not matured, like their Tesla semis. I think there's a projection of 50,000 Tesla semis, which should be far more profitable to go in 2024. And even if they only did 25,000 Tesla semis and the profits there, it adds to the bottom line. And the reason I like Tesla is I was watching a video on the Tesla semi versus a diesel semi. And even though the semis only equal a little over 1% of the cars on the road, or maybe less, I'm not sure, but I think it is right around 1%, between 1 and 2. The diesel trucks emit 17% of the pollution of the cars that are on the road. So Tesla obviously has to build a charging network to support the Tesla semi industry, but Pepsi and I think they own Frito-Lay have been doing tests with it, and they just recently found out that, with 3 8-hour shifts and three different chargings, they went like 1,200 miles in a day in a Tesla semi with no emissions other than, building the vehicle. You have the back emissions, and then, eventually when the vehicle ages out, you have the vehicle needing to be recycled as best it can and so forth. And a little bit of exciting news on that is I know they, at the Berlin factory, they are going to put in a water and a battery recycling and a water, I don't know if it's refurbishing or what the term is, that basically to clean the water that they use at the manufacturing process and also start to recycle some of the batteries. I guess the life cycle cost of the Tesla Semi is going to be, an operating cost is going to be highly profitable to truckers. It's just a shame we can't produce more at a quicker rate to make a quicker impact. But then again, as an investor, I'm just starting with Tesla. I don't have a lot of shares. Obviously, you just heard the numbers that I'm doing in investing, so I'm not acquiring a lot of shares. So I was kind of encouraged when the Q3, I knew it would be lower because they had shut down some of their factories to do some refurbishing of their lines for the Tesla 3 model and just updates on their cars. They're continuously innovating. So I knew that would happen, but the Cybertruck has been kept getting pushed out, and even though it's probably not going to be a huge impact on the bottom line, it was suspected to come out highly profitable with something like in the 20% margin rate, 25% margin rate. And on the call, they said it was going to be delayed and it wasn't going to produce as many, and it wasn't going to be profitable for maybe 18 months, which me now just starting to invest in Tesla, I thought was good news because I like to buy it when it's lower. And so I always am unhappy when it goes up, which sounds funny because then I'm having to buy it at a higher price. So I still think there's a lot of opportunity in the auto side to grow their business and market share and so forth, especially with a lot of EV makers losing money on EVs because they haven't figured out how to produce them at a mass scale profitably. And they're looking quarter to quarter to show their results for their investors and so forth. And they were losing tremendous amounts of money per vehicle to sell them. So on the auto side, you have the Cybertruck. There's can eventually be a $20,000 to $25,000 adjusted for inflation over time once it gets produced. Cheaper vehicle than the Model 3. And so I think you'll see that happen. And then they still have their energy storage business in the Megapacks and just other batteries that can work on homes and so forth, which I see tremendous growth in. And then they have their AI technology, whether it's their robots, which I don't really know much about robots, and their autonomous driving, FSD. So if you get self-driving vehicles eventually, people can share the vehicles, not have to buy a vehicle, just call up a vehicle and it shows up and you go on your way. But regardless, there's so much fleet opportunities. Hertz took them on to do a big portion of their rental car business. And we're getting low emissions from all that, so I like it. But the way I buy the Tesla isn't really consequential of how I do it and how wealthy I'm going to get. The consistency of investing every month, I think, is it, whether it's Tesla or any company. But I'm going to continue to go forward. I continue to watch the stock. I watch pretty in-depth videos on boring charts and so forth to make sure it's still a good investment and there's still opportunities and that the cars are well made. I just met a gentleman this last week that pulled up in a Tesla. And I said, "How do you like your Tesla?" And he goes, "I'll never buy another car." And he's already on the waiting list for Cybertruck. And that's most of the information I get, because I always ask people how they like their Tesla when I see it. And that's why I want to buy a Tesla eventually. They don't have to go to the gas station. They don't have to get the oil changed. There's very little maintenance. My son owns one, and he said he spent $6 last year on maintenance. And one issue he had when he first got it was some paint on one of the doors wasn't perfect. It was in there in one day, taken care of, and back out, and it was for free. And so I think it's a good stock for me, aligning with my ethics to keep the make the planet cleaner, and especially if they can recycle batteries, that's a huge portion. But also the energy storage from clean energy, and etc. But the key to buying the stock and the key to picking this stock is that I see further innovation, massive growth. There's a bell curve in almost any product that is sold, especially in the fashion. I sell floor coverings, so in the floor covering industry, grays might be popular, so they have a bell curve and they start falling off, and then gray browns are popular, and then eventually browns are popular, and then maybe browns with a reddish tint are popular, and they all go on a bell curve, and that's why some products get dropped, is because they're just not producing enough at the end of their bell curve and they need to be refreshed. Well, with Tesla, they have so many exciting opportunities, and with me buying every month, 3 different times a month, I'm buying the stock at a different price all 3 times. So if the stock goes down, recently it just went down under $200. I see today it was at 207. It's a moving target because the market's open today. But I bought it almost as close to 300, but cost dollar averaging, I'm about 224 or something on what I purchased it for, which means I've lost money on Tesla. But as I continue to purchase every month, and I continue to raise by $1 every time, eventually I'll be buying, a larger amount of Tesla at different prices. And it kind of protects you from, volatile traders that are in it for the short term. Being a long-term investor, it doesn't really bother me. In fact, I want the stock to stay low. I'd rather buy it low and get as many shares as I can. And then when it grows like I think it will, I'll benefit. But I'm going to continue buying it because I think it's good company. And I think there's just massive opportunities within the company. If they solve their solar panel problem, or I'm not sure I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I think they're doing full roofs and solar panels as regular as other things. But I switched to solar panels recently, or I bought some, and I haven't had an electric bill in 7 months, and I'm in Washington by Seattle, which is cloudy and rainy. For October, I had no bill. I mean, I had a bill, but I had got credits from the government for the extra energy I produced, and my gas bill and my natural gas bill and my electric bill are together. And so even though my electric bill is paying, my electric subsidies are paying my gas bill. So I'm sure I'll have 3 or 4 months this year that I have some type of bill, but it'll be lower because they're still accepting energy, even if there's clouds or rain. But so if Tesla figures out the solar panel part of it, they'll be doing battery storage, solar panels, their AI business, self-driving. They're already on their charging stations. Most of the major manufacturers are adapting to using Tesla's charging stations. So they should have a high percentage of that, and that's a profit center as well. So there's many, many profit centers beyond just the car company. Most of them haven't been realized and are in their infancy stage. So that bell curve, they're just on their way up. And 4% of the one market's um, is not very much. There's a chance to grow there. So I think they're going to have close to 1.8 million vehicles produced this year. And that's not a lot when you look at Toyota, who's at generally right around 9 or 10% or something. But I think I'm right, or maybe it's 9 or 10 million vehicles. So even if they just got up to 10 million vehicles, which their goal is 20 million vehicles, Teslas, and you look at it in semis, and you look at it in trucks, and you look at it in cars, and if they get an economic car that everybody can afford. In fact, Tesla just passed a threshold where their Model 3 is now lower than the average price of a new vehicle. That's the average price of a new vehicle. So they've mass produced an electric car that is below the average price of a purchase price of a new vehicle in America. And I don't know if that's in the world, but I know that part. So the key to it is I invest every paycheck. I go up. If I get bulk money, I'll put that in as well. And whatever stock you choose, whatever method of investment you choose, if you want to put money into savings and buy a house, the key is to pay yourself first. Put the money aside first, then pay your bills. So the first thing I do when I get paid is I buy my Tesla stock, and then I start paying my bills. And if I pay myself first and I invest in myself, and I have other money, I own a house and different things like that. But I should have done it all along. It's easier for me to tell you how to run your life than to run my life properly. I can tell you what to do to exercise properly, and then you look at my double chin. So we all have great advice and opinions, but putting them into action is something. So I'm proud of myself for doing this kind of test experiment with Tesla, and I'm committed to it, and investing every single paycheck and increasing the dollar amount so it comes into real money and putting some bulk money in. Those are my thoughts. Give me your thoughts, and give me other companies that you think, because eventually I want to do more than just Tesla. The companies that are innovative, that can impact the world and help make our cities, counties, states, countries, and the world a better place than we found them. Thank you from Brian Wants Your Help. Have a great day and appreciate the support.